Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So today we're going to do a deep dive lesson on the infamous legato technique. Okay, so if you've clicked on this video, chances are that you have had some issues and some struggles and challenges with getting your legato down. So I've designed this lesson based off a lot of experience I've had with students and teaching them legato and trying to actually help them upgrade their own chops. So we're going to apply this to you today. So make sure you buckle in and follow the steps that I've outlined for you in today's lesson. Okay guys, so the legato technique tends to go hand in hand with learning the diatonic scales. So dia, 7 tonic notes. It's when we start to graduate away from the pentatonic scale. So penta, 5 tonic notes. Okay, so our pentatonic scale just played the pentatonic in A there, starting from that 5th fret. Now I'm assuming that you know this scale because now we're going to graduate into the diatonic scales. And for the purpose of this lesson today, we're going to study two main scales. We're going to study the A minor diatonic scale, which looks like this. And we're going to study the C major diatonic scale, which looks like this. Okay, so it's important that you study these scales for this lesson and just to become a better lead guitar player in general. Now make sure that when you are studying, you commit them both to memory and to muscle memory. So you want to get to the point with your scales where you can play them without thinking about them. That's where they're committed to muscle memory. So I always say to my students, I can play my scales while talking. That's always a good sign that they're committed to muscle memory. So with that out of the way, I'm now going to discuss the legato technique, what it actually involves, the common pitfalls for it, and then how we can apply it to become better guitarists and better players. So the first thing, what is legato? Legato is where we're playing a sequence of notes together, and in general, we are only picking at the start of the sequence or every time we hit a new string. There are exceptions to that, but this is the general rule. Now, when we are playing these sequence of notes, we are hammering on if we are ascending through the sequence, and we are pulling off if we are descending through the sequence of notes. So super important. So if we take our scales that we've learned before, the A minor and the C major scales, and we play them with legato, they sound like this. So notice how I'm hammering on the way up when I'm ascending the scale. I'm picking every time I hit a new string, and when I'm coming down, I'm pulling off, right? So when I'm descending the scale, I'm using my pull-offs, and again, I'm hitting every time I hit a new string with my pick. Now, the C major scale. Like that when you're playing legato. Now, the common thing that players experience when they're learning legato and when they're trying to improve their legato is that the pull-offs are way harder than the hammer-ons. I see this all the time with my students. So what it means is that you have to put an extra amount of time and effort into the more difficult aspect, which is the pull-offs. So the first thing that I recommend is play the scales up and down, like I've played in this, but also start from the high E string and start with the descent. So that you get more time getting used to this motion with the pull-offs on top, because that is by far the most difficult aspect of learning and developing your legato. So the C major scale. was a little sloppy on one of those notes. My timing wasn't the best, so just take note of that. That is another thing that you want to do when you're working with these scales, is make sure that every note is exactly even and the rhythmic subdivision of every note is correct. So a great way to practice this is just to make sure that you're playing with a metronome or a backing track. So jam tracks are fantastic for this. Put on a jam track in A minor or C major and try your scales over the top, but try and keep time. You do not want to get sloppy where you have different timing for different notes. Like, we want nice and even, and so on if you're doing the full scales. Okay, now, the most common challenge at this next level is changing strings, particularly with the pull-offs. So, the first exercise we're going to do here to help alleviate this problem is incorporate the highest note on the lower string after descending down the first string. So, for example, let's start at the top of our A minor. We're going to pull off 8, 7, 5, and then we're going to hit 8 on the B string, and then we're going to climb back up. And we can apply this to every string set that we've got within these scales. And what you'll notice is that these get increasingly difficult as you come down to the lower strings. The hand has to arch over more and more strength is required on that left hand. Now, similarly, we can do this with C major. And we get that. So the next thing you're going to need to develop is speed. So what I recommend to my players when I'm teaching legato is that you stay on single string runs and you work on stamina. So we can take, for example, this 3-note section from the C major, so 12, 10, 9 on G. We just want to go up and down to start to build speed and stamina. But think of this like the gym. So it's like doing, say, planking or an ab workout at the gym. You want to be able to hold that for as long as possible, and you want to push into the zone where your hand actually starts burning, right? You should feel strain. Pain is bad, strain is good. Strain means that the muscles are growing and developing in your arms. We can also do some more difficult patterns. So this is one that I recommend. You start on your pinky, pull off to 9, hammer on 10, 12, then pull off back to 10. Sorry, pull off back to 9. That was a mistake that I just made there. So you can do this on every string. And it'll get obviously increasingly difficult on the lower and thicker strings. All right, excellent. So now boss mode. What we need to do is start stretching out the hands so we can take that pattern and apply it to wider spacings on the guitar. So what we can do, this is a great area to do it, on the D string of that minor scale. So 9, 5, 7, 9, 7, 5. See how fast and how long you can do that. Okay guys, now if you followed all of that and you've worked through the sequence of these exercises, you're gonna have to go back and forth through them to develop your different weaknesses. What I want you to do is take note of your personal weaknesses and then figure out what they are and address them. So if your challenge is the pull-offs, more time on the pull-offs. If your challenge is changing strings, more time on the changing strings exercises. If your challenge is the stretches, more time on the stretches. Now what I'm going to do is give a little exercise here as a little bit of a cherry on top. It's very Dimebag inspired. He's probably my favorite legato player. What we're going to do is play a run that is diminished related, but then goes Dimebag crazy. So we're going to play 12, 15, 18, which is a massive stretch. Like this, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to hammer on every string, those frets, and then pull off. We get something wacky like that. Then what you can do is separate into different groupings. So you can take 3 strings at a time, move up 3 strings, and then go back 1, move up, back 1. So we get this. We get that sort of stuff. All right, guys, so that should be really good for strengthening up your hands. I hope this helps with your legato playing. Make sure that you keep me posted on your results and on your progress, and keep rocking.